Aaron, we have a much better budget deficit. Why can't we spend more?
Well, look, spending has to come through Congress. Congress has to decide how much money they want to inject into the economy, and they also have to manage how much revenue. And the difference between that's the deficit. So it's a political will question, not an economic capacity question.
So why isn't the Obama administration then stressing that the deficit has improved so much in the last 4 years, and there's potentially fiscal benefits to that?
Well, there have been. It's hard to show the fiscal benefits when real economic growth has, failed to take off. As the chart you were showing right before demonstrated, we're not at pre-crisis levels. There's a question of whether or not the financial crisis has fundamentally changed our capacity for economic growth.
Aaron, you have a terrific expertise in seat-of-the-pants regulation. The critics will say there's too much regulation or the wrong kind of regulation. How do you respond to them?
Well, I think it's a fair question, but I think the political dialogue has become staid. It's become between too much regulation or too little and not getting better regulation, higher quality regulation, which is what both sides ought to be for.
I mean, when you look at the regulation, what would you hope for in the coming 2 or 3 years from Dodd-Frank and the other efforts to be sure we don't have a crisis as we had before?
So I think Dodd-Frank's made some real progress here. I think one of the key areas is you want more certainty and clarity. I think people are willing to obey by the rules of the road, almost whatever they are, but you need to know what they are. And I think that's one of the areas where the regulators are still putting in the finishing touches and still need to communicate to the market more clarity. This wild ride on Wall Street, has been taxing for a lot of people this week, but hopefully one of the good outcomes of it will be a little bit of clarity as to whether or not the regulations are working or not during periods of stress.
Yeah, I'm not sure of the connection there, but I do want to ask you about China and the devaluation of the yuan. It's been a long sort of a wish of the Treasury under the current administration, and when you were there with Secretary Geithner, that China, ease off a bit on its peg to the US dollar. Will this have been enough?
I'm not sure this will have been enough, and I'm not sure that from China's perspective this is going to have been enough to stimulate their economic growth. You've seen currency manipulation and currency pegs and levels become a major sticking point in the Trans-Pacific Partnership, the giant trade agreement. China's not a part of that, but it's a huge player in the background in terms of what's likely to go forward. I don't think this will alleviate the political pressure in Washington from one side, and I'm not sure it's going to alleviate the economic pressure from the other.
Aaron Klein, thank you so much with Brookings. We greatly appreciate it.